Hello darlings, this video is about my journey, starting from childhood until now, how I became who I am today, and I assure you it is surprising and it is a hell of a journey that I'm gonna tell you about. We'll try not to make it very long, even though there's a lot to pack about everything I went through, and let's make it short. But before beginning, make sure you hit the subscribe button and you stay here close to me also by pushing the notification button, the bell, so that you can receive all the materials, the videos, the goodies that I have for you coming on. And also, why not, if you feel that this resonates and could help one of your friends, share the video, spread the joy, spread the evolution frequency. Let's start with myself as a child, as a very sensitive child, a child that once started school felt a misfit. I was feeling alone, I was feeling not important, not enough, not heard, not seen. I was bullied. I really closed off, and books became my best friends. It was not a very nice time in my life, and neither was the following period of my life, which was my teenager years. I was one of those kids that, as like calm and good and behaving, I was as a little child. Once I started my teenage years, around maybe 13, I became this very rebel person. I was like talking a lot during my classes. I was defying authority. I always wanted to know why I need to do the stuff that they told me I need to do. And I was sneaking around, not listening to my parents. And also I was really into, guess what? Rock. Heavy rock, hard rock, and underground rock scene. Not those surface mainstream rock bands or music, but the ones that are really, really heavy and that like gave a start to one of my darkest periods from my life, the descent, as I would call it, into the abyss, into the Hades world. As I started drinking a lot, I started smoking a lot, I started skipping school a lot. Then I started like hanging around with all kinds of people that, you know, were as well misfits and weird people and kids, the ones that society didn't want and label. But that was where I belonged, and that was where I felt like myself, like not judged, and I felt no pressure to be something else, to be different, to be better, just because someone else wanted. And I, during all this time, I continued like feeling alone, and I continued feeling a lot of like pain, sadness. I didn't know at the time what to call it, what was that about. So I started like self-harming myself, and I started like drinking, and this drinking became more and more towards my youth years, while I was in college and in university. And growing up, I had like a couple of like beautiful experiences, and those were during my first university, because I went to two. I'm gonna tell you about it in a bit. I went to the US with the work and travel program for 2 summers in a row, and those were some beautiful months in my life. A very nice and fulfilling experience for a young lady like myself. And I was given a lot of freedom, and I worked and I traveled and I had fun and I met a lot of people, and of course I fell in love. And of course I was heartbroken, and this story, me being heartbroken, is one of the motives of my life. I was very like desperate to find a relationship and to find a guy, someone that would love me for who I am. And I went through a lot of rejection, abandonment, and also self-rejection, self-abandonment, lack of self-worth, lack of self-esteem. So this led to more drinking and more disconnection from myself and from my body. This led to having random relationships and to accepting a lot of men in my life. That was a very chaotic and dark period in my life that culminated with me breaking down, like collapsing and having these days where I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't sleep, I would cry a lot. I would find myself like in a dead end. Nothing made sense. I didn't want anything. I just thought that maybe it's better I will be dead, as nothing works and I feel so bad and so miserable all the time. That was the time when someone recommended me a psychotherapist, one of my friends at the time, that later on just betrayed me like that. She was a narcissist. I also have a long history with narcissistic people in relationships. I will not talk a lot about it, but just to like mention it, I also went through that. So I went to my first psychotherapy session, and this began a process of approximately 2 years going into therapy and rebuilding myself from scratch, starting to see that I am valuable a little bit, starting to rebuild my self-worth and self-confidence, which is still an ongoing process. It's nothing that just ended after a couple of years of therapy. It just, put me back on my feet so that I could exist. I was hired in a multinational as an employee, also a misfit there as well. I didn't fit into that standard job, into the system. I challenged authority all the time. I was very like, this is not for me, and I know I will just have my own practice and office because I was already passionate about psychology. And so I also went into my second university studying psychology and psychotherapy, which was my deepest calling since high school, actually. I was really a bookworm, loved reading everything, loved foreign languages, loved writing. I was actually excelling in writing in English, also in like arts. I was very talented as a kid, loving to like paint and draw, but this was a skill that was not supported. As you know, you're gonna die of hunger and poor if you're an artist. And guess what? Now I incorporate artwork into my mission and in everything that I do. So I went into psychology and psychotherapy school, as I said, and also during those years I was still like in the dark period of my life. I was still like going out a lot, missing a lot of sleep, having a chaotic life, drinking a lot, not actually having good friends, feeling better but not still okay. Something was really missing from my life. And I met someone that I went into a relationship with. It was a 5-year long relationship, and he was kind of like my protective angel at that time. And that is because at some point I quit my job, I quit the system. I knew that was not for me. It was just at the beginning of me starting to find this world of energy work, angel work. This is how I began with angel therapy, with a book actually, that really opened my heart and my eyes, and that made me realize out of a sudden that this is what was missing for me and this is what I was looking for. As backstory, as a child, and then around 15 maybe, I went looking for God, for spirituality, for this kind of connection, because I had this relationship with Jesus and I was very connected to Jesus, and I didn't have any other option but religion. So I went to search for more, and guess what? Didn't find it. I just found people and rules and dogma and systems, and I didn't find the open heart, the ingenuity, the integrity, that true connection with divinity and with oneself. So I quit that, and this is how somehow my dark period began, and how I went through it, not believing in anything. So fast forward to the moment I almost finished my studies, and I found this book with angel therapy about energy, about guardian angels, about archangels. And it was the moment when I knew this is it. This is what I was searching, what I was looking for, what was missing from my life. This coincides with the moment I quit my job, and I had no backup plan, no money, no idea about like how am I going to go through and what am I going to do with my life. So this came like at the most appropriate point in my life where I was like, this is what I'm going to do, even though I had no idea how I was going to do that. So for some years I was supported by my boyfriend back then, as I said, because I didn't make any money. I was giving readings, oracle card readings, and then consultations to people for donations in tea houses, in restaurants, everywhere I could, just to follow this purpose, this calling. Then I was introduced to some people that were having all kinds of workshops and all kinds of events. So I was invited there. I started like giving teachings. I started little by little building my mission in an incipient form. I got my first office. It was a manifestation, my first like room that became my office, that became the place where I received people for consultation, where I started like holding meditations, gatherings, group events, courses, and so on. Meanwhile, of course, I was myself going to a lot of like workshops and courses and immersing myself into this world, discovering about myself, discovering my senses, my intuition, my perception, my gifts, discovering that I am so much more than what I believed. And this was bringing me so much like joy, enthusiasm, and it was like nourishing for me. Going to all these meditation groups, groups where I was working with the archangels, where there were people like me passionate about all of these things. Talking about passion, my boyfriend back then was not passionate about all these things. He was into the rock scene a lot. He was not like caring very much about these things. So at one point I decided to end the relationship because this wasn't nourishing for myself. It was not something that made me feel like seen and loved, and was going nowhere basically. So even though it was hard for me to do that because he was not actually a bad guy, and I didn't tell you about the relationship that I had and it was abusive. I also went through an abusive relationship earlier on in my 20s. And now splitting up with this guy, I found myself in this position where I still wanted a relationship. I still wanted to be loved. I still had a big piece of my abandonment and codependency wound active. So I was still like thinking that I can be happy and valuable and wonderful if someone else tells me that. So this is also why I was so many times heartbroken. I fell in love so hard and so quick, and then, abandoned. And still hoping and still searching and still putting myself out there every time. So I dedicated some time to work with myself and to go deeper in my wounds and in my inner child wounding. So at one point I said, you know what, God, please, I'm fed up. I'm fed up with like searching for the guy, for the relationship. I can't anymore. It's too hard for me. So just bring me the guy whenever you consider fit, whatever guy you consider that it's best for me at the best moment for me. So I just let that go and had my own experiences by myself, initiations, more courses, more self-development, more inner work. And at some point, while I was co-facilitating a retreat, an energy and angel work retreat, I met my current husband, my beautiful king, that is beside me for 8 years now, and it is the most fulfilling relationship that I actually was dreaming about years ago. And it came to fruition after all of these experiences and heartbreaks and therapy and inner work, so that I could stand by my own, and so that I could take my power back from the other person, and not put my happiness, not rely everything on the other one, but stand by my own, lead myself, have my own limit, power, decisions, voice, and truth. And this is how slowly I started shifting from the angel work to the sacred feminine mysteries work, to the womb work, as meeting my man. It provoked me to wonder, what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be feminine? What is feminine energy? What is it all about? So this led me into the next stage of my life, where I started going very deep into my shadows. Um, it led me into like womb awakening work and all kinds of practices that I now incorporate in my work with other women. And during all of these years, when I started being like active on my mission, everything like grew step by step organically. I never was that person that, paid for followers or likes or subscribers. I never was that person that followed the trends, the marketing trends, or the trends in the spiritual field at all. I started this journey when people would not speak of these things. It was not popular back then. Now it's like everywhere, but it wasn't back then, and it was something that was like kind of hidden and weird. I was going to be a speaker, and I was a speaker to a lot of festivals and events, and I was giving teachings and workshops a lot. At some point, I also organized with my husband a big fair, with self-development fair, as well as I had my own radio show together with my husband as well, and all kinds of experiences, podcasts, TV shows that I was invited at that time, that slowly led me where I am today, of course. And one of my friends tells me that she admires my courage and my steadiness and my resilience on this path, that I never wavered, and I never I never let go of it. I never went to like becoming an employee again, or I never was that person that was just following trends to make money or to be someone, in that sense of common knowledge, like be someone on TV or just have an image or have a status. For me, it was more important to follow my inner guidance and to be myself, like more and more myself. And this is actually the journey I'm on, discovering and remembering who I am and what I want, and own my truth, and own my magic and my power and my value and my weirdness. Allowing myself to just express myself and be out there the way that I feel, and the way that is aligned with me, and not in the way that is presented or in the way that it's supposed to be, or others say that it is good or best. So this is what I'm also doing for the women that come to me, that reach me, that connect with me. I'm taking them on this very deep journey of self-discovery and activation of their own soul gifts and truth, so that they can own who they truly are. Not that person that they thought they should be or is expected of them to be, but the woman that is a medicine woman, an oracle woman, a woman that is like me, an alchemist, a channel, a woman of the new earth and the new paradigm, where she owns herself and her magic and her mystery and her feminine, potent energy, and she leads herself like that in the world. No more hiding and no more fear. This is why I'm here, and also to anchor this new way of living, where being a rebel and a misfit is actually a good thing, is actually what makes you unique, what makes you you, so that you are not following rules and checking boxes, but you are creating a life that is your own life, based on your inner guidance, inner truth, connected all the time with divinity, and bringing sacredness and ritual and ceremony in everything that you do. This is that harmony between humanness, practical and grounded, and also spiritual and divine. This is actually my journey. This is the way that life led me so that I am this person, this woman, this guide, this teacher, this alchemist that is standing here in front of you. And if this is a story that inspired you, please leave me a comment and let me know what inspired you and what is the value that you take from my story. Let me know what is your own story, your own journey. I'm sure it's fascinating as well. And as I said, I will leave all my data below so that we can connect further on other channels as well. Thank you for being here and thank you for listening. Reach out if there's any questions or if there's anything you want to share.